How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and welcome back to another episode of Don't Starve Together MODlight, in which I highlight some of the more compelling mods I've been playing with in the past week or so. To get us started here, we're going to be taking a look at a server-side mod called Thirsty for Tea. It's by Debla and Bunions. The description isn't all that helpful, I guess you could say, and there are no configurations for this mod, so I'll just have to jump into the world and give it a go. So as I alluded to at the start here, the description for this mod I feel doesn't do it justice. There is so much that Thirsty for Tea adds to the game. I would say the most significant thing is, as you can see here in the upper right corner, we now have a thirst meter. So as we play the game, this thirst meter is going to incrementally decrease, and when it runs out, we will be taking damage, similar to how you would take damage if you ran out of hunger. To alleviate thirst, you can do things like fill up water bottles, build a well and get some water, purify the water, as the water you can get naturally from most sources is tainted. So in our case, I'm going to go ahead here and demonstrate the well that this adds. You can dig up areas of ground like this, and you'll see it reveals a wet ground hole, and then we can go ahead to the water tab here, scroll all the way to the bottom, and right there is a water well that can be built. Now when I go ahead and build the well rack and add it to the default water well, it increases the amount of water that you get out of it for each bucket lowered down. And as you can see here, we have drinkable water. This water has some impurity to it, and to get rid of that impurity, you can see it says 10 impurity. The impurity increases over time, and impurity does things like damage your sanity and your hunger, if I'm not mistaken. So you'll want to use something like a distiller. You can go ahead and put the water in there, and it will fill the distiller over time. As you can see, the amount of water in it is increasing. It's up to 4. And then we'll need to use bottles, like these ones here, to get the water back out in a drinkable form, because we can't put buckets back in here. So go ahead and put the bottle back in there, and you'll see it will fill up over time here as the water is distilled and made drinkable. The bottle has 48 water in it, now it has 72. We can take it out, it's fully filled, and the bottles have durability. So as you can see, my water is down to 154. At the moment I can take a drink and the durability of this bottle will decrease. So now we have 7 out of 8 uses instead of 8 out of 8 uses. So really, when you take a look at this mod, there is so much that it adds. I really couldn't go over it in a succinct amount of time. So I'm just going to cover some of the highlights that I found. So in addition to having water wells, you can get water from other locations, such as the ocean, right over here. So if we get close enough to it, we can take an empty bottle, and we can right click on the edge of this ocean here to get water. And now it's a full bottle, but you'll notice it has 90 salt as well as 90 water, which makes it very difficult to drink because you'll take damage if I drink it. See, I lost 40 health just from drinking that salty water, so you really don't want to drink salty water. There are other options though. For example, we have a stream here. This is pretty unique to this Thirsty for Tea mod, and you can go ahead and take your empty bottles and get water from the stream to purify. So now that bottle is full, and instead of being tainted with salt, it has 22 impurity instead. And like I said before, as I drink this water that's impure, my hunger and sanity should be affected, but that's interesting. It didn't have as much an effect on it as I thought it would. It was nowhere near the same effect that drinking salt water had. Another thing you can do with these streams is if you don't have a bottle, this is a good location to just go ahead and drink from it. You can press the action key on your keyboard. You'll do the little gathering animation, and your character will be able to drink directly from it. In addition, there are these regular type ponds. They're a little bit special, but much like a standard pond, you can go ahead and fish in them. There's really nothing special to catch in terms of fish, but these are useful areas to be around. And the nice thing about these ponds, in contrast to standard ponds, is that they don't spawn frogs. So if you're looking for an easy source of fish that you wanted to base next to, I think that pond would be the preferred alternative to the standard ones on the map. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of how to go about gathering water. In addition to the bottle that I demonstrated, there are a couple of other vessels that you can use to drink out of, such as these cups here, or the wooden flask. Now all of these water containers, with the exception of the mug, tend to use resources that are not quite as easily renewed, such as niter and flint for the quartz bottle, or just plain flint for the wooden bottle, while both of those have significantly more durability, as you can see here. 8 for the wooden flask and 8 uses for the bottle, compared to the 2 uses for the mug. I think long term it actually might be more viable here just to use the mug. So the one source of water that I didn't cover are these condensers. So here is a water condenser that you can build. And as you can see, it's taking quite a while to actually generate water, but we do have 29.5 out of a total of 90 water in this condenser. And we can go ahead and put a bottle inside the condenser to transfer that water out of the condenser and into the bottle. So as you can see here, no water left in the condenser, 58 water in the bottle, and we're capable of drinking it. Now this is pure water, but as water sits stagnant in these vessels, it will gain in purity over time. Now you're probably at this point saying, I thought this mod was called Thirsty for Tea, not Thirsty for Water. Well, yes. Another rather important part of this mod is the fact that you can make tea out of things such as these green tea trees right here, or the Ivan chai leaves. There is an entire branch of the crafting menu now dedicated to brewing supplies. So as you can see here, we can make various tea tablets, depending upon what ingredients we add. If we want to brew ourselves up some tea, we can open up something like the samovar. You can do things like put water into it, and you'll see the water will increase up to 3 now. And then we can put the tea tablets right here next to the water. And then we need to turn it on. Now, interestingly enough, once you turn it on, it glows as if by a fire, but there is no way to fuel it, and it will just keep running until it's done making the tea. So as you can see here, it finished our bee brew, which is what we made out of those stingers, and it's actually going to penalize us for sanity if we drink it. But after turning it off, we can go ahead and put a bottle in there. We have our very own bee brew. As you saw before, it will penalize our sanity, so let's go ahead and drink it. There you can see it hurt our sanity. I'm not exactly sure why you would want to make such a brew, but the option certainly exists. Let's try something a bit more compelling, like a green tea. Make those green tea tablets. Go ahead and put one of them in there. Turn it on. Wait for it to cook up. And as you can see, it's now made green tea, which will actually give us 6 health and 11.2 sanity, in addition to 56 thirst. There is also a water barrel that you can use to store water over time, and quite a few things as well that I haven't taken the time to discover for myself, and therefore I won't try to explain them here. So I think overall this is a pretty extensive mod, and it is one of the ones that I'm really intrigued to try out on my dedicated server, because I've been looking for something that adds a little bit of additional complexity into my regular Don't Starve game, and I think adding a thirst mechanic would be really compelling, and this is one of the best mods that I've seen for it. Of course we can still starve, but dehydrating might be a bigger threat. So you might have noticed that instead of playing Wilson for this MODlight, I've been playing Wendy, and there's actually a good reason for that, and that's because we're going to be demonstrating a client mod here called abbyskinmod. It's by ESIXD and Filigrani, and it reskins Abigail to whatever skin that you as Wendy are wearing. Now, it does require you to actually own the skin, so it's quite similar to a mod that was being worked on about half a year ago at this point, which would reskin player ghosts. So it's similar to that. I'm just going to give you a brief demonstration of it that shouldn't take too long. So now that this client-side mod is enabled, you'll notice that as we are using the Gladiator Wendy skin, Abigail also has the Gladiator mask, and her flower is now themed to the Gladiator colors. But the really cool thing about this is you don't actually have to get a new Abigail to change it. If you go ahead and enter the wardrobe to change Wendy's clothing to another outfit, you can go ahead and confirm the outfit. And right there you go. Abigail changes as well. And this is probably my favorite Abigail skin for this. It's really colorful. The only other Wendy skin I have is the Victorian, so let's go ahead and confirm that. And you'll notice Abigail dons similar apparel. So there's not a whole lot to this mod, but if you're somebody who likes to play Wendy, you'll probably be able to appreciate decking out your ghost sister in similar attire. The last mod that I'm going to be demonstrating here for today is a bit of an old one, but it is also a really good one, and I'm remiss for not having tried it out sooner. I'd only recently actually went ahead and downloaded this one, mostly because what it does is it allows you to ALT click parts of the user interface to announce your player status based on that part that you clicked. And largely the reason that I overlooked this mod was because I simply didn't need it. When I play Don't Starve Together, I generally play with other people on voice chat, so I don't have really any difficulty like that communicating, but there are a lot of people who I've played with who actually weren't using the voice chat at the same time as me, who found it very useful to use this mod. And for that reason, I figured the time had come for me to go ahead and try it for myself. So this is status announcements by RazingHel? I don't know. But the point is, this is a modder who has been around the block. This person has some of the best mods on the Don't Starve Together workshop, mods like geometric placement. So they're a bit of an old hat at the game, at modding it, and well worth a follow, even though they haven't really produced much in the last year or two on the Steam Workshop. But that aside, let's jump in here and I'm going to give you a brief demonstration of how status announcements work. To give an accurate demonstration, what I do is I press the Alt key and then I can click on something like my hunger, and you'll notice there goes Wendy. No amount of food will fill the hole in my heart, and it mentions I have 144 hunger out of 150. Same thing with sanity, mentions all of that. You can also send messages by examining things holding down the Alt key, like a campfire. We need more campfires. You could send a message like that to the server. Need more fire pit. If there is something you can currently craft, you can hold down Alt to announce that you're about to craft it, so that other players would know, oh, I don't have to go ahead and craft an alchemy engine because Wendy already went ahead and did that. You can get a little bit more advanced and click the resource itself in the crafting menu, in which case your character will tell the rest of the server how many more of that resource that they need to craft the item or structure that they're looking at crafting. By holding down an additional modifier, in my case it's the shift key, you can examine things like logs, in which case your character will mention how many of that item they currently have in their inventory. So in that chat it said I have a log, but now that we have 2 twigs, let's examine that, and you can see Wendy says I have 2 twigs. So that's largely the extent of the status announcements mod. Like I said, while I personally don't use it because most of the time I'm using Discord voice chat, I've noticed this mod does come in very handy for people who don't communicate via voice chat, and I thought I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to inform those of you who don't use voice chat like me to play of this mod's existence. If there was one way I think it could be improved, it's to allow the player to actually configure for themselves the modifier keys on the keyboard that are needed to send these chat message alerts. But this has gone on long enough, so at this point I'll just say that the links to all of the mods that I covered here today can be found in the description below this video. If any of them piqued your interest, go ahead and give it a try. If you liked it, be sure to take a minute to thank the modder for taking the time to create and share it with us. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.